Welcome, friends, to a world of amazing stories and dramatic twists and turns. Today, I'm going to tell you a story that turned my life upside down. It's a story about my girlfriend cheating on me, a picture I saw that shattered all of our plans and hopes. I was on edge, ready to say goodbye, but what really happened? Mysterious circumstances, hidden secrets, and unpredictable plot twists await us in this terrific story. Are you ready to enter the world of my drama of fate? Then let's begin this amazing journey together. I came back from the army, and the girl I loved didn't wait and went below the radar. Worried, of course, but to break my life for a woman. But that's not the point. I took care of myself, found a job, and began to settle in and get on with my life. Then I ran into my ex-girlfriend by chance. We met in a store. She laughed, joked, bragged, and boasted about what she had become. I kept my mouth shut and let it pass me by. It had long since worn off and burned out, to be honest. Then 2 days later, she came to me. The doorbell rang at 12 o'clock in the morning. I looked through the peephole, opened the door, and there she was. She was crying, stuttering with tears, and begging for forgiveness, begging me not to leave her and to give her another chance. She said that she was sorry for everything, and that she regretted that she had ruined her own life, that she still loved me, she said too. In addition, during our separation, it turned out that she was addicted to drugs. I can't tell you any more details, it hurts. We lived like in heaven for a year, and then we had a fight, and she snapped. I found her 4 days later in the company of some junkie from the Golden Youth. I took her to the hospital. Then resuscitation, then death. Brain dead. I buried her alone. All her relatives had given up on her long ago, crossed her out and forgotten her. The first time after she was gone, I did not really live myself. I worked during the day, then worked out to the point of exhaustion, and then went to bed. Sometimes I went out with friends and got stupidly drunk. After 5 years, it seemed that I had found my happiness, but the key word was steamed. She's a single mom with a small child, an autistic daughter. She doesn't talk at all, and the word is not at all. The child is golden, it's true. In the beginning we communicated, started getting close, and then we moved in together, started living together. Believe it or not, but the relationship was unreal. Everything was perfect. She's affectionate and gentle and caring, but she's just gold. Right. And I loved her daughter like she was my own. I was very fond of her. I was happy, and it didn't end well. Just one morning, a girl called me in front of my car. Then a short conversation and a stack of pictures of my woman's relationship. He was 16 years older than her and far from poor. There were no scandals. I came home in the evening, put the pictures in front of her, and after packing my things, I just went nowhere in the night. The only thing she said was, "If you can, I'm sorry." I worried terribly, worried wildly. I loved my daughter as my own. I loved her. At first, it was just like the last time. I lived like a zombie. Work, training, alcohol, friends. It was like life was over. Every day was like the day before, Groundhog Day. The whole life is like a black and white movie. There are no smells, no colors, no colors. And there's no desire or meaning to it all, either, as you can see. And in my head, the same question. Why? In the meantime, my career has taken off. Hard work, in which I drowned my emotions, has borne fruit. I was noticed and offered a very serious position. And since work was all I had, I accepted. And so, everything seemed great. I had money. I always wanted to get out of poverty, but still no life. One weekend, I got in my car and drove to my ex's cemetery. Put an end to my personal life for a long time. Put all thoughts on the subject out of my head and heart. Believe that relationships and love are nothing more than a beautiful fairy tale for movies, for books, and for some cheap melodrama series. And then there's a new spin. And it's the same story again. But this time in a new wrapper. We met a mutual acquaintance. We got acquainted, liked each other, and started hanging out. Feelings were awakened, the relationship began to spiral, and now we were living together. Everything was going very well. We were making plans and building our lives. And then that unfortunate New Year's Eve happened. She had too much alcohol with her girlfriend and was talking to her in the kitchen while they were smoking. And I heard it, because the acoustics in the apartment are good. In general, I never eavesdropped or rummaged through phones, computers, that kind of thing. All in all, the picture is not a fun one. She loves her ex. They communicate online, but she can't forgive him. He betrayed her for someone else. And I'm just good, wonderful, golden, and reliable. Again, no scandal and no swearing. After a couple of days, we talked and broke up honestly. She didn't want to break up, of course, tried to justify herself, and I didn't want to listen to this anymore. Anyway, that's my whole life story. I'm 32 years old, life is settled, but no personal life. And to tell you the truth, I don't even know. I've long since given up on love and family, and in people slowly losing faith, to be honest. I've seen a lot of things in my life. Or maybe I'm just not lucky, or maybe it just doesn't happen at all in this life. And thank you. Thank you very much. Talked. Well, friends, a little analysis of the situation. Let's take a close look at the author. This is an ordinary guy. Obviously from a simple, perhaps working environment. Nevertheless, you can see his idealism. He is an idealist. An ordinary one who falls for outwardly spectacular women. His first so-called love, an alcoholic and drug addict from society, from the milieu of the golden youth, most likely. To clarify, once met with such, you can see the antagonistic relationship, conditioned by the environment and nothing else. That's why she did not wait, most likely. The second one is also a rather interesting case. Apparently, also with a conspicuous appearance and enjoying the attention of other men. If she was hit on by such a successful man, how much older by 16 years, right? Older than her. There must have been something about her. If even our author, given the child, not in the best of health, decided to take to himself and had feelings for her. But he also spoke quite warmly of her when he described her. But what's most interesting is that it has probably been looking for someone like our author for a long time. By the way, it found one. The latter, and spectacular, and again, not from the working environment and the plankton of the office. We got acquainted with friends already when he himself had risen in his career and financially. Correspondingly, we can presume that the acquaintances were of the same level. And this woman was clearly in an incomplete relationship, which was certainly evident in her behavior. For example, I can't imagine a relationship or situation where, being with a person for a long period of time, you couldn't see that she was anchored somewhere in there by the past, something clinging to her, some relationship with an ex, not a relationship, and so on. The author, on the other hand, is stubbornly unwilling to understand that when a relationship develops rapidly, something about the past of that opposite party is completely wrong. This is, of course, an assumption that you can argue with. I agree, it's not always true. It is. There are facts in history, not specifically in the history of other people. There are situations where people have met and a precipitous relationship has developed for reasons other than that someone has some skeletons in the closet there. Especially if we're talking about people who are young, able-bodied, promising, energetic, they may have it inherent. And what can you say about the author and give him some advice? Perhaps we should be more attentive and finally understand that what is important in a woman is her inner content, and only after that her appearance. If you don't agree with me, write in the comments, we'll discuss, no problem. How do you feel about the author's story in general? I've already told you my vision. Now on to the second story. Welcome to a world of amazing stories full of betrayal and dramatic twists and turns. Today, I'm going to tell you a story that tore my soul to shreds. A story about my wife's infidelity and how I found out the truth and couldn't contain my emotions. I found evidence that fundamentally changed my view of love, fidelity, and my own existence. Passion, rage, frenzy, all these emotions mingled in my head as I stood before the truth, not wanting to believe my eyes. Are you ready to enter the world of my shattered destiny and find out what happened after I saw that evidence? Then hold on tight, because this story of my wife's infidelity will leave you in shock. Make yourselves comfortable, brew some tea, coffee, or in a mug, something stronger, and here we go. Here's our story. We met 9 years ago. We have been married for 8 years and have 2 daughters, beautiful children, aged 6 and 8. Our age difference is very small. I am 33, and she is only 30. We met when I was a student yesterday, so to speak. I grew up a little over the next 9 years. I have a pretty confident life now. We have a house, 2 apartments, 2 cars, we travel. The first years together we loved each other. Then there were, as probably with everyone, periods of quarrels. Probably like everybody else. Over time, of course, feelings have faded quite a bit. Flowers only twice a year, weekends, like movies, malls, weekdays, respectively, work. We were consumed by everyday life. You know, I love my wife and daughters, although I guess I realize now that I have never talked about it in recent years, and therefore did not show my feelings in any way. The perfect family, it seemed to me. My wife was decent, intelligent, and beautiful, of course. I, by the way, always knew that men liked her, but never gave the slightest reason. In recent years, despite the fact that we had enough of everything, I worked as much as possible in the evenings at home. I wanted to provide for my children. On top of that, I had problems at work. Trouble never comes alone, does it? As a result, on weekdays, we practically stopped communicating with my wife and even seeing each other. We saw each other in the morning, and then before going to bed. And then one day, well, how beautiful, you'll see, I noticed correspondence in WhatsApp. It is such a messenger. She immediately deleted everything and started saying that Q is a friend. Also, I noticed that she doesn't let her phone out of her hands, and it's locked. I, of course, was floored. Recovered the call history. Recovered deleted WhatsApp messages from the last 7 days. It threw me into shock. Everything that was between us 9 years ago, all those tender names, flutters, declarations of love, poems, and so on. She decided to do it again, a second time with this cable in secret from me. And there, in the same correspondence, the fact of cheating indirectly. I turned white. I never would have thought that this could happen exactly by his mother to me. We never had any secrets. I hadn't cheated on her. I hadn't even thought about it. I was fine with everything. I traced the calls too. We only called each other for 2 weeks. That is, we can conclude that I caught her in the heat of the moment. It was, as it turned out later, her colleague, who worked in the office next door. I decided to talk to his wife. We talked for a long time. About the typo calls highlighted the particularly alarming times. They were talking both in the daytime and in the evening. There were even half an hour. When I and the kids were home, respectively. Yeah, shocker. At first it was denied. Like nothing happened. Just communication and love. Just correspondence. But still I managed to pull it hard. By saying that only after admitting everything you can try to start from scratch, I managed to knock out that they had intimacy. Twice. I confessed that I just didn't know what to do. I love her very much. And I realized it more clearly only now after what happened. I couldn't imagine myself without her and without my daughters. Everything we had been building for 9 years had gone to hell. She repented the same day. She apologized. Told her the whole story. He wasn't rich at all. He wasn't rich at all. He was below average, not married. They agreed on common interests. Aliyah, music, movies. Then they went out to dinner together and so on. Like she says, I stopped paying attention to her. She told me that. And friends, I don't argue. Guilty. I really wanted to feel young and loved. Why the hell didn't she tell me that straight up? Yes. He complimented her all the time, interested in her, etc., which I had not done for the last few years, the fool I was. According to her, she had planned to limit herself to texting and new emotions. But yeah, it didn't work out. Physics did the trick. I get it, being able to seduce with compliments a woman immersed in work, household problems, children, so on. It doesn't take much intelligence, I guess. But how was she? How could she have allowed this romance to come around a second time and start all that bouquet period candy? How? I always knew everything about her. Knew that she was emotional, that she lived and loved with her emotions too. She kept diaries as a teenager, she wrote poetry, she was romantic. But to cross it all out like that, I'll probably never understand. But nevertheless, I decided not to get all hot and bothered, and looked at the pasts first. In the end, after a long emotional talk, she said she would write to him, and that I would see everything. In front of me she wrote, even though he already knew that I had figured out that it was her fault. She loves me and wants to keep the family together, and that he should never write to her again. He replied that he didn't expect to get this far, said he understood, and that was it. He fell silent. A day went by. I said that they only give me one chance, there won't be a second. And I don't know if I can forgive to the end, and if I can certainly forget. She swears she will never cheat on me again. Crying, grateful for giving her a chance. Swears there's nothing with him anymore, and there never will be. She's sorry. Pities, because what was it all for? Since they disappeared so quickly, and it was so easy for him to end it all. She loves me, and only when the real threat of separation from me was looming, it was only then that she realized that she could not do without me. I do not know if I can forgive her. Not just the physical cheating, but the moral cheating, and maybe even the moral cheating in the first place. And also how she allowed it to blow my mind like that behind my back. How could she spit on us and the children like that already? What kind of switch are those women having in their heads there? That's something I will never understand. How did she allow the cheating to happen? It's all questions. If you can help me figure them out, I'd appreciate it. But it is not necessary, I am only asking you. Dear listeners, friends, thank you for watching our new video, for subscribing to the channel, for giving me the likes or dislikes, and for your activity in the comments. It gives me a clear signal to keep working for you. Thank you, and I won't say goodbye and see you soon.